At 29, Satoru feels stuck in a boring life. Even though he loves drawing manga, he has to deliver pizzas to pay the bills. But here's the twist. Satoru has a special power he calls rebirth. Sometimes, when he's about to face a big problem, he gets sent back in time. This gives him a chance to stop something bad from happening. One day, while delivering pizza, Satoru has a rebirth. He realizes a truck is about to hit a kid. Without thinking, he jumps in to save the child but gets hit by the truck himself. He wakes up in the hospital and his friend Eri is there, praising him for being a hero and saving the kid. After leaving the hospital, Satoru goes back home and finds his mom, Sachiko, cooking a tasty meal. Despite Satoru's hesitation, Sachiko decides to stay with him for a while to help him get better. During dinner, Sachiko talks about a dark time from Satoru's childhood when the town was haunted by kidnappings and murders. When Satoru was just 10, 3 kids disappeared and his friend Yuki, who was 20 at the time, was wrongly accused of the crimes. A few days later, while Satoru and Sachiko are at a shopping center, something bad happens again. Satoru experiences another rebirth and urgently warns his mom about a danger. Even though she doesn't fully understand what's going on, Sachiko accidentally stops a little girl from being kidnapped by staring down the would-be abductor. Confused by the person who tried to kidnap the little girl, Sachiko thinks hard and realizes something chilling. She believes she knows the identity of the real kidnapper from 18 years ago, the one who haunted their town. Excited to tell Satoru about her discovery, tragedy strikes unexpectedly. Someone breaks into their apartment and brutally kills Sachiko before she can reveal what she knows. When Satoru returns home later and sees his mom's lifeless body, he collapses in shock. A neighbor sees him covered in blood and panics, calling the police. As the police arrive to arrest Satoru for his mother's murder, he somehow manages to escape, overwhelmed with grief. Lost and confused, Satoru runs through the streets until he suddenly finds himself in an unfamiliar place. When Satoru fully wakes up, he realizes something big. This isn't just a regular rebirth. It's a huge one. Now he's a 10-year-old kid in the year 1988, the very year when the scary kidnappings happened. In the midst of his confusion, Satoru understands that he has a significant mission. A chance to stop not just one, but several terrible things: the kidnappings of 3 kids in 1988 and the murder of his mom. Excited about the idea of preventing these tragedies, Satoru is happy to see his mom again. He quickly decides to stop the first kidnapping, starting with his classmate Keo. To keep her safe, Satoru tries to be her friend and create a shield of protection around her. But as he gets to know Keo, he discovers the tough reality of her home life. She's reserved and there are bruises on her legs. Understanding the difficulties Keo faces, Satoru's friend Kenya tells him about a touching book called The Town Where Only I Am Missing, written by Keo. The story reveals the tough life Keo leads and the daily abuse she suffers from her mother. Now knowing more about Keo's struggles, Satoru invites her to his birthday party. Surprisingly, they share the same birthday on March 2nd. Since Keo disappeared when she was still 10 in March 1988, Satoru figures out that the crucial day X must be March 1st, the day before her birthday. With 11 days left to change what's about to happen, Satoru is determined to rewrite the tragic history. In his search for Keo at the park, Satoru unexpectedly meets Yuki again. Spending a pleasant afternoon together, Satoru becomes even more convinced of Yuki's goodness. He dismisses any idea that this friendly guy could be the cruel murderer he was wrongly accused of being. Feeling the urgency to save both Keo and Yuki from impending tragedies, Satoru grapples with the heavy reality of Yuki facing the death penalty in the present year of 2006. In his quest to find Keo, he visits her home and discovers her hiding in the shed, wearing torn clothes and covered in bruises. The harsh truth unfolds when Keo's mother, Akemi, confronts them, ordering Keo inside and dismissively sending Satoru away. Determined to help, Satoru confides in his teacher, Yashiro, who admits he had long suspected Keo's abuse but couldn't get the youth welfare office involved. The next day, false accusations against Keo arise in class, with her classmate Misato accusing her of stealing lunch money. Satoru and Yashiro quickly debunk the false claims, putting an end to the unfair accusations. In the evening, Satoru plans a special surprise for Keo. Taking her through the forest, they discover a beautiful Christmas tree, holding hands beneath the starry sky. This magical moment becomes a break from Keo's tough life. As the day of the abduction gets closer, Satoru takes Keo to the local science center, making sure she's away from her mother. While exploring the science center, Satoru has a strange feeling of déjà vu. Suddenly, he remembers being there 18 years ago. On the crucial Tuesday known as Day X, Satoru spends the entire day with Keo, going to the youth center and walking her home in the evening. As night falls, Satoru keeps a watchful eye on Keo's house, feeling a sense of relief when midnight arrives without any major events. The next day, while Satoru and Keo go on a shopping spree for their joint birthday party, a strange deja vu hits Satoru at the supermarket. Back home, the birthday celebration is warm and joyful, with friends, Sachiko, and the two birthday celebrants coming together for a happy occasion. Filled with happiness and a sense of achievement, Satoru goes to sleep, thinking he has successfully changed the future to avoid tragedy. However, the next morning, Satoru is shocked awake by the harsh reality. He rushes to school only to find that Keo is missing. Distraught, he realizes he couldn't prevent Keo's disappearance. He only delayed it by 2 days. In the following days, the chilling echoes of the past return as the second victim, Aya, a girl from a neighboring school, also disappears 6 days later. Things are unfolding just like they did 18 years ago. Satoru, while passing by Keo's house, sees Akemi heartlessly getting rid of Keo's things. Satoru gets desperate and, in a moment of panic, runs through the streets. Suddenly, he's transported back to the year 2006, now a 29-year-old man. In 2006, Satoru is still suspected of his mother's murder and is desperately being pursued by the police. There's a bit of hope when his restaurant manager contacts him, seeming to offer a safe place. But, surprise, it's actually a dangerous trap set up with the police. Luckily, Aries steps in just in time, saves Satoru, and lets him stay at her place, firmly believing he's innocent. As Satoru looks into Keo's disappearance, he finds out that his actions did change the future, just not as much as he wanted. The situation gets worse when the manager suspects Eri and forces Satoru to leave once again. Now he's under a bridge, caught in a never-ending cycle of running and being chased. While Eri is packing things to take to Satoru, she gets a scary message on her phone, supposedly from Satoru. Suddenly, her room fills with thick smoke, followed by a big explosion. It gets even scarier when Satoru gets to Eri's burning house. He doesn't think twice and goes in, risking everything to save her from the flames. In the middle of all the chaos, Satoru can't carry Eri alone because she's too heavy. But just when things seem impossible, the manager shows up and helps Satoru get Eri to safety. They need to be careful because the police are getting closer. The manager takes charge, making sure they avoid any problems. Smart move. Eri sneaks her phone into Satoru's pocket before he leaves through the back door. After their nerve-wracking escape, Satoru reads the scary message on Eri's phone and quickly gets in touch with a former journalist colleague of his mom, a guy named Sawada. They meet up, and Sawada tells Satoru about the official reports from the 1988 kidnapping events. A troubling pattern shows up. Everyone is pointing fingers at Yuki as the guilty one. Sachiko, who found out who the real culprit is, probably got in trouble for trying to reveal the truth. Under the bridge, Satoru and Eri meet up again. She tells him she thinks a guy named Ishizono set her house on fire, but their talk gets cut off when the police suddenly show up, dead set on catching Satoru. They cuff him and lead him toward a police car, and Satoru spots someone oddly familiar among the investigators. Right before getting caught, Satoru gets a burst of determination. He triggers a revival going back to 1988 at the Science Center on February 28th, the moment that gave him déjà vu. Now, in this unexpected third try, Satoru has another shot at changing what happens. The next day at school, Kenya notices a big change in Satoru and promises to help him in the mission to save Keo. Satoru and Keo come home on March 2nd to a surprise birthday celebration organized by their friends. They have a great day together, enjoying the festivities. Wanting to change the past, Satoru takes a quick break from the party to go to Yuki's house. He throws a stone through the window to give Yuki a solid alibi, diverting the police's attention. Satoru then thinks about doing something drastic to Keo's mom, Akemi, but Kenya steps in just in time. He convinces Satoru to think of other ways to protect Keo without resorting to violence. Back at the party, Satoru shares his new plan with Keo on their way home. He suggests a bold move. With her agreement, he wants to kidnap her and take her to an old deserted bus where she can hide for a few days. However, on the second night in the bus, something unsettling happens. A mysterious man gets into the bus and Keo hides until he leaves, visibly shaken. On March 3rd, Yashiro tells Satoru that he reported Keo's disappearance to the Youth Welfare Office and plans to visit Keo's mom that evening. But when officials show up, they find an empty house. Back in the bus, Keo, scared of the mysterious intruder, asks Satoru to stay the night. She points out a backpack and box left behind, likely belonging to the intruder. Satoru checks them and gets uneasy, recognizing tools of the kidnapper. They're now stuck in the same mess. Facing this harsh reality, Satoru decides to take Keo to his home for safety. On March 4th, after enjoying Keo's first homemade breakfast, they go back to her house with Satoru's mom, Sachiko. Akemi, Keo's mom, gets furious about her daughter being missing, and then officials from Child Welfare Services show up during her outburst. Talk about unexpected. In a surprising twist, as Akemi tries to take Kayo to the police, her estranged mother steps in and stops her. Filled with regret, Akemi's mom asks for forgiveness, feeling sorry for not supporting her daughter during her tough times. This emotional reunion sees Akemi and her mom hugging and crying, promising that Kayo will now be with her grandmother. As they part ways, Kayo thanks Satoru deeply for saving her life. Now that Kayo is safe, Satoru shifts his attention to the next potential victim, Aya, a girl from another school. Satoru watches Aya's actions and routines, accidentally bumping into his mom and teacher Yashiro. Yashiro gives them a ride home, and Satoru notices a strange bunch of lollipops in his glove compartment. Something doesn't feel right, and Yashiro's weak explanation doesn't calm Satoru's worries. The next day, Satoru and his friends introduce themselves to Aya, but she's initially suspicious. But Kazu's friendly charm works its magic, and Aya agrees to check out their secret hideout. As Aya and Kazu bond, Satoru feels relieved that she's in good company. This lets him concentrate on the next potential victim, his classmate Hiromi. Hiromi tells Satoru about how Misato has been mistreated by classmates since she falsely accused Kayo. Sensing Misato's vulnerability, Satoru follows her to the hockey rink but loses sight of her after she doesn't come back from the restroom. In a surprising turn, Satoru finds Yashiro at the rink, who says Misato has left. When Yuki's family's van shows up, Satoru and Yashiro follow in Yashiro's car. The mood gets dark when Yashiro, revealing himself as the real culprit, talks about his deep resentment towards Satoru for ruining his plans. It's almost like he knows what's going to happen in the future. Yashiro's revenge plan unfolds as he uses Misato as bait, leading Satoru to the hockey rink and then into his car. The shocking truth hits. Yashiro's car is heading for a frozen lake. As the vehicle starts sinking through the ice, Yashiro watches coldly from outside, leaving Satoru desperately fighting against a raised seat belt, trapped in his sinking car. As Satoru goes down into the icy water, the important moments of his life flash before him once again. But in a surprising twist, in 2003, he wakes up from a coma. His mom took care of him tirelessly during the 15 years he was unconscious. Now, Satoru focuses on fast progress through intense physiotherapy, yet the memories of the events leading to his coma seem to be gone. Supportive visits from Kenya and Hiromi help Satoru piece together bits of his past. Kayo, now married to Hiromi with a baby, also visits, bringing warmth. An unexpected reunion happens when Yashiro, now using the name Nishizono, shows up as a successful, high-ranking politician. Taking advantage of Satoru's memory gaps, Yashiro pretends to be the caring former class teacher, making regular visits to the hospital. But as Satoru starts remembering bits of his past, the memories of Yashiro trying to kill him and kidnap his school friends slowly come back. Yashiro, sharp as ever, begins to suspect that Satoru's memory might be returning. In a tense showdown, Yashiro guides Satoru on his wheelchair to the hospital roof, accusing him once again of ruining his plans 15 years ago. The tension rises as Yashiro threatens Satoru's life, but some mysterious force stops him. Satoru knows that the key to Yashiro's hesitation lies in how he predicted and stopped Yashiro's plans in the past. The mix of anger and fascination with Satoru has given Yashiro's life meaning over the last 15 years, creating a connection that Satoru believes will ultimately keep him safe. Satoru's belief gets confirmed when he tries to jump off the roof, but Yashiro stops him just in time. Yashiro is torn inside, realizing he can't bear to live without Satoru. In a moment of despair, Yashiro lets go of Satoru, ready to jump off the roof himself. But to his surprise, Kenya and Hiromi intercept Satoru's fall. Satoru, who got his memory back a few days earlier, had told his friends about Yashiro's true identity, and they worked together on a plan. The police show up on the roof, ready to arrest Yashiro for trying to harm Satoru again. Fast forward a few years, Satoru has become a successful manga artist, following his passion. One day after work, he unexpectedly meets Eri during a leisurely walk. This chance meeting happens right under the same bridge where they were years ago during Satoru's last unknown-to-him revival. This encounter symbolizes the end of Satoru's journey, marked by resilience, friendship, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. Ultimately, he saves many lives and finds fulfillment in his own.